I'm Andy,
Hi, I'm Carlos.
and you're watching Mikey's Untitled Music Show.
Welcome to Mikey's Untitled Music Show, guys. Today, we're going to go ahead and dive into the musical minds of With My Own Eyes. How you doing today, guys?
Good, man. How you doing?
We're going to get into, you guys' musical creativity. We're going to get into, you guys' story, you and Carlos. But when I was looking up your music on Spotify, I saw that you guys also had, I saw something that said Angry Odd Kids. Are you guys formerly Angry Odd Kids?
So Carlos would probably be best to explain that because he's the founder of Angry Odd Kids, so he could probably give you the best backstory on that.
You guys was that your project with another band, Carlos, or was that was Angry Odd Kids like your producer name?
Well, the story is that I had a band called Angry Odd Kid, which is in Portuguese because I'm original from Portugal. And some of the songs that we are using, I originally wrote with Angry Odd Kids, and I wanted to do a version in English with Andy. But then we started creating and writing more stuff, and everything became like the writing process was very nice, and it was different. And at a certain point, I wanted to go back and do Angry Odd Kids again in Portugal. I had the opportunity, so I was like, okay, it doesn't make sense to do this as Angry Odd Kids. So since the band is going to be in English, I'll change the name and get a name for this band. And we came out of the name With My Own Eyes, which is pretty much some songs that we had with Angry Odd Kids, but in English, and some new stuff that we are writing, and some of the songs that you're like,
And when did Angry Odd Kids first start?
oh, Angry Odd Kids, I don't know, it was 2000 and like, imagine I play in a band called Ponzi from Portugal. We tour all over the world with No Effect, Pen Light, Linkin Park, or whatever. That was 2004, 5, 6, and we played festivals, Rock in Rio. And then I did that in Portugal like around 2007. Angry Odd Kids was like a side project that I had. So around that time, I started a band.
And Andy, when did you first meet Carlos?
So I first met Carlos. I don't remember the exact year. I think it might have been like maybe 2013, 14, 15, somewhere around that time. Because my uncle was actually in a band with him here, a Spanish rock band called Avenida Cero here in Miami. And they were, playing shows and stuff here locally. They played Warped Tour back when that was still over there in West Palm, I think. And I met him during that time. And when that band kind of came to an end, that's when we kind of started getting the idea to, kind of redo Angry Out Kids here in English. And then eventually that led to With My Own Eyes.
Nice. And so I saw that the songs Tell Me and I Want to Stop This Moment, they were were those two songs that were originally in Portuguese that were translated to English?
Yeah. Yeah.
Actually, they're not really, really like a direct translation. Actually,
Right.
there's the feeling of the songs and the some stuff is similar, but I think, for example, "Tell Me" is way more obscure and than "Sabes Bem Como Estou," which is like "You Know How I Am." In Portuguese, the version we changed the lyrics, and actually, I remember writing some part in the chorus, a pill, a needle, and a gun, which is something that in the Portuguese version, no, we don't say that.
Okay, yeah.
So it's same melody, same thing, but the meaning is different. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's take it back a little bit. Carlos, what was one of or do you have a certain, kind of time in your life, back when you were younger that kind of, whenever you started using your creativity, musically?
Um. Honestly, listen. I as a kid, I was living in Miami, and I'm Portuguese. It's weird because I'm Portuguese. I was born in Africa, actually in Angola, which is a Portuguese colony, and then moved to Venezuela in the 80s as a baby. And it was an amazing back then, amazing country, very very rich culturally. Like we had all the influences from the US, British, very European, like music. We could hear anything, and sometimes it was amazing. Like I'll come to the States, and I was listening to bands that people in the club didn't even know they existed because remember back then there was no internet and nothing. But I was like, no, they don't know this band. Like, but they were super big in Europe, so it was good because I was able to listen to this band plus the American bands, you know. So there was me plus some Latin bands and bands from Spain singing in Spanish, punk rock, very radical. For example, my friend got into the Clash. I'm originally a tennis player, and I remember one time I saw the album London Calling and the cover, and I see Paul Simon smashing a bass on the ground, and I'll do that with my tennis racket because I was a sore loser, and I'll destroy the racket. And when I saw that thing, because he had the record, and I was like, "Wow, but can you do that in stage? This is interesting." And that at that time, I don't know, I was started listening to the Clash, even though it was already an old band. Then he got me into the Ramones and stuff, and I really got into punk rock. That way, when I moved to the States, I didn't know how to play guitar or anything. I was a kid, but I was living with my friend who was in a Spanish rock band, and they signed with Sony, with a major record label, and you know, and I remember listening to their songs, and they were really into No Effects. At the time, No Effects was very popular. Punk in Trouble came out. Uh, Pennywise, The Unknown Road, actually, was the record at the time on and Rancid and Out Come the Wolves, which is to me the London calling of the that era, the 20th century, and but they were playing this whack Spanish rock, and I was like, dude, no, you need to be more 80 and whatever, and he used to make fun of me, but you don't play, you don't get nothing, hit a chord. And I remember then I started playing the guitar and learning, and one time my friend, that he always wanted to make a band, he didn't know how to like he told me like we should start a band, whatever. Like, yeah, but you don't know how to sing and we don't know how to play. And I remember we went to see No Effects at concert, and it was No Effect face to face and Temple Pole. I'll never forget that show in Fort Lauderdale. And time was the name of the place was The Edge. Right now it's the Revolution Live. And I remember when I saw that show, that concert, when Face to Face came out, I was like, wow, the melody, the hoop, the guitar, the rhythm. I mean, I've been into pop punkers my whole life before. I saw Pantera, Sepultura. I used to go to all the metal shows in South America. And he was edgy and he touched me and he was intense. But when I heard the first time with bands live, there was something like the melody, the octaves on the guitar, the hoop, the energy, the crowd, the vibe, the feeling of the people, the thing. He was like, this is I felt at home. I was this is it.
Yeah.
This is what I want to do. I want to be here all day long. I wanted to be, and that's how I really got my first. I got a guitar. Remember, I bought a cheap Squire and an Epiphone amp at a pawn shop store, and I guess that's how the way it's supposed to be done. You're supposed to start
Yeah.
paying. That's how
Just
it's
pick it
done.
up. Yeah, just
Yeah.
pick it up and figure it out. And did you pay for any kind of lessons or anything like that, or was it like you bought a book or something? Because I know, like you said, there
No,
wasn't really internet back then.
no. What I really did is like the singer of this Spanish rock band. He really liked Sublime. He loved No Effect. He loved No Effect, and we used to go to Warp Tour. I'm talking about the first Warp Tour, which Sublime was headlining. Imagine Grammy Noel was alive. And
Sounds amazing.
um, I asked him. His name was George, and I asked George, Meet, can you play some chords, man? Yeah, which song do I want to learn? And I remember one of my favorite bands was Propaganda from Canada. I heard the album How to Clean Everything, and those riffs are thick. I mean, that's to me one of the best punk rock political bands ever. And I know they influenced like all the bands like Tom 41, Simple Plan that all talk about this band. This band is amazing. And I show him the record. I told him, I want to learn this song, Anti Manifest. And he's like, dude, you need to say this is too difficult. This guy is a genius. He never heard the band before. And actually, I mean, he heard No Effects, Offspring, Pennywise. And the moment that I showed him the CD that I wanted to play out, he was like, wow, this is different. There's something here. He told me, dude, let me do something. Let me show you Bleed Street Bob from Ramones. And let me show you When I Come Around from Green Day. And then we'll get into this. That's very much how it was.
No, that's amazing, man. Yeah, like I love hearing people's like stories and how they started all that stuff, and because it kind of brings up memories too. Like you were saying, okay, I used to play tennis in high school,
Oh,
and so like I remember my freshman year, my friend was like, "Hey, I couldn't do track. The doctor didn't clear me for track. So he was like, "Hey, you can't do track. Come try tennis. You're gonna be on varsity if you join." And I was a freshman, and I was like, "All right, we'll do it. We'll start varsity." But I remember those times where I there was a time where I was in a match, and I was so mad, and I was mad at one of my older teammates. So I had one of his rackets, and I was like, I lost that match before, and I was like, I'm gonna go break this racket. You guys want to see me break this racket? So I go into the basketball courts and I break the racket on the court, and I'm all mad, and I'm saying like, oh, F this guy and F this guy or whatever. And in the next match, my normal racket that I was using, I barely kind of bumped it on the ground and it cracked. And I broke my secondary like racket by spare, and I was like, that's what I get for being a dummy. You know?
Well, listen, nowadays everybody everybody's doing it, and that's the way you release tension, I guess. And
Yeah.
I'm totally against it now because I used to do it, and I'm a coach. Actually, I'm coaching right now the number one player in the world in double. We just won. I came yesterday back from Indian Wells. We just won Indian Wells, which is crazy, but
Oh, nice.
so
Congratulations.
it's my real job right now. I was lucky enough to do music, like live out of music for many years, which is a blessing because I know nobody can do it anymore. Just a few. It's the way of releasing tension. I guess everybody handles pressure different. And I really associate a lot with sports and the mentality in tennis and dedication and the passion and the effort that you put on the court with music. Like how many hours me and Andy, for example, spend in the studio trying to record a song and make it nice and the mixes and the melodies and the arrangement and the production. And then probably nobody's gonna hear it and then nobody's gonna care, but that's how it is.
Yeah.
And maybe two people just hear the songs and they're gonna like it. And for example, me, I was lucky, like my last concert with Fonzie, I played Rock in Rio in front of 85,000 people with Mute and Arcade Fire, on the main stage. So that's insane. But honestly, I have way more fun now playing with Andy, and I hear the songs and I'm like, dude, that's 1,000 times better than what I used to do. And with those stupid, shitty songs that I had, I tour the world and I play with all these bands, Green Day, Blink-182, all those guys. And now I feel that I'm doing something way better. And pretty much we're starting and seeing what's up. But it's the passion, and it's the dedication and the effort you put in. The reward is more like personal and the satisfaction that you get when you hear your song final and you get all excited. And then, for example, I send it to Andy and say, "Hey, bro, listen, I just got the new mix for Tell Me. Look how it sounds. Look at the guitar. Look at no, it's too high. The bass. No, man, you play the bass fine. I want the bass for conch and all of that back and forth. And then, bro, I heard it in the car. You saw the the way the drums and the harmonies and you feel like the last pro. It's like they got the cake out of the oven, and you
Yeah.
smell it and that feeling. So it's the same. Actually, I think I'm very successful in my job nowadays because I use a lot of the philosophy there that like the psychology that I used when I was in a band before going on stage to a big crowd is the same. You go into the U.S. Open at the center court in front of all the people, and when you have to perform, and I always tell the players when they're like very nervous, like, hey, listen, you can go out there and you can shank one ball and meet another one and make 7 on 4 serves in a row, and you can still win the match and people are gonna clap. You're in the band, me, I'll go there. If I sing bad out of tune 3 times and I screw up one song, I'm done. They're gonna cook me like the who's used they're gonna be this guy gonna do that, and probably my career is done. So relax. It's way worse when you're a singer or a guitar player or whatever than when you're a tennis player.
Uh, Andy, when did you start using your music like creatively, like for yourself?
I mean, when I was younger, I used to when I was growing up, like Linkin Park and those kinds of bands, Korn, they were coming up, like that new metal era was starting, and like mixing the rap and the rock and all that stuff, and I really liked that. So I would, I had this little like speaker with a microphone attached to it that like kids have, and I would just like sing into that, like rap all the Linkin Park songs and all that stuff. But when I really started like getting into like writing and stuff, I picked up guitar late middle school, I think,
Hmm.
and then early high school, I started like my first band, and we wanted to be like those like heavier alternative bands that were popular at the time, like Breaking Benjamin and 3 Days Grace, and all. Like we wanted to be them so bad, and the band was called The Halves, and it was my first attempt at ever like writing, and it was the worst music you'll ever hear in your life. It was horrible. I hope it doesn't exist anywhere on the internet anymore. That was like MySpace days, and we had all the tracks up on MySpace.
Groove Shark.
We went to like a local studio here in Miami. We recorded like, I think it was like 5 songs in like 12 hours, which is never a good way to do it. So you can imagine like the quality of the music. Um, but I mean, it gave me kind of like a foundation for like, okay, this is how like you structure a song. This is how you kind of pull influences from bands that you like to make your own thing. So that was kind of when I first like kind of dove into it, started learning how to play guitar, started learning how to sing, and started learning how to kind of compose a bit. And then over time in high school, I was in several bands and genres changed. I went from wanting to be, like Breaking Benjamin and 3 Days Grace to wanting to be more like Pierce the Veil and like Fall of Troy, and did my musical taste changed. And I was always listening to in the background, at the time, like Panic at the Disco, Fall Out Boy, those bands were big. So I always kind of had that in the background to like want to do music that's different but still catchy. So yeah, that's kind of how like my path went to shaping, my taste in writing to more like pop punk kind of music.
And who were, like you said, Pierce the Veil? Who are a couple other bands maybe that really resonated with at that time?
I mean, I was into like a like plethora of different like genres. So my favorite band is still Pierce the Veil. I love their stuff. I love like the how unique their writing is. But like Circus Survive was huge at the time. Sleep Boom Sirens, and I was still like bands like Avenged Sevenfold. I was the Lamb of God. I would listen to Dillinger Escape Plan, like just all across like the from math rock to even like some country stuff. Like it's never been about like the genre for me. It's more like how does it sound? Like how do I like this? Does it make me feel good? Do I like the sound? Is it catchy? Can I find like some redeeming quality in it? And if I can, then I'll listen to it.
Yeah, that's funny. Like some people ask me like, what kind of music do you like? And instead of telling them like, oh, I like a genre, this kind of genre, this type of music, if my ears like it, I'll listen to it, you know?
Exactly.
Like there's nothing if like I'll try it, especially with music. Like with food, I was always picky growing up and stuff like that. But with music and like art and stuff like that, I was always gravitated to like artists or to music, to movies, like visual arts and like performance arts and stuff like that. So like I was always into um like anything that might like my ears can grab, you know what I mean? And
Yeah.
and and back in the day, like, well, yeah, I grew up. I was in high school in 2004 or something, so I still grew up in the times where we really didn't have internet. Like iPods were a new thing, and like MySpace was like the big thing at the time. So you got your music from your friends or from these playlists that people put on their page, and you can listen to this stuff like that too. But I didn't really start actually looking for music till I was already out of high school when I found The Doors. When I listened to The Spy for the first time, my mind was just like blown away. I've told this story before on the show. Um, but I listened to The Spy and I was like, damn, like there's no like I didn't know you can make music like this, and this led me to like Simon and Garfunkel and Led Zeppelin and then even Sublime also, not just like Santeria but like other different songs, um and so is there like maybe a band, Carlos, or like a genre that really that really moved you or that kind of just changed your musical mindset?
Well, um, it's funny because um, like probably when after I joined the band and I started touring with my main band, which was Swansea, and I toured all over the world. I went to Australia. Funny story. Winston. Um, well, I'll tell you that later. But in Australia, I want to tell you who's Winston. He was my roadie on a cigarette and a horse. But I, I, after I toured the world, Australia, Japan, all of that, and I was already like, okay, look, I'm Mister, pop punk and doing all the things or whatever. I went back to my roots and listening to the music that my parents used, listen at home, like Aerosmith and stuff or whatever. And a band that I'll never forget that it touched me because I don't remember, but I thought it was like probably when I was a kid. I was a kid and I was in love with this girl, whatever. And I remember thinking of this girl, and back then, the line phone that you pick up and you have to call, and there was something on the other side of the line, and you could pick up and listen to your conversation and stuff. There was like before all the internet and all the technology and all the stuff. So it was Def Leppard. I'll never forget that if you to that front in the back, stereo. And I mean, I heard Photograph before. I heard Pyromania, that record before. But when I heard the and all the layers of harmonies and stuff in the back, I was like, what is that? And the shepherd. And I was like, wow. And back then, I mean, I just can go to the internet and download it and whatever. No, I have to buy the CD, you know? And it was in the store and buy the CD or the cassette. I used to have the cassette and put it on my auto reverse Walkman, the Sony Sport, and I could run and it was auto reverse, Then I got my Discman too, that it was like I could jog with it and it didn't skip. And I was like, this is good. This is amazing. This is like, it's never going to get better than this. And I remember having Syria and listening to that band. And years after, like I said, after I was on tour and all of those things, I revisited all of that because the roommate that I had, that I really liked Def Leppard. And then I really got into production. So I started learning about who produced certain albums from bands. And then obviously I was interested in the band that I liked and the records that I liked, who produced them, because I know the producers. I remember Ryan Green. Ryan Green produced every single Pod Records album, and they're all kind of saying, New Names for a Name, Good Ridden, Strung Out, and Quite Pecked, and all of that, for example. But it was like, who produced Hysteria? And then I found about Robert John Mark Lang, who did Nickelback, who did AC/DC, Harb, Def Leppard, Journey, all this. And it was like, who's this guy? No, but he's also a songwriter. He also writes the songs for this band. And, he co-writing songs. The guy's a genius. So I started learning, getting into production and learning about it. So obviously that led me to hear songs in another way. So if I tell you this, you're going to laugh. But Markland made me love Billy Ocean. Imagine Billy Ocean, it's because Billy Ocean, I know that Markland was obsessed with Thriller for Michael Jackson. He always wanted to do Thriller, and when he recorded Hysteria, he wanted to do the Thriller of Rock. That's why he told the band, I'm going to record the Thriller of Rock. And Jim Allen locked his arm, and they was like, dude, you crazy. We have a drummer with no arm. We cannot do anything. He's like, no, we're going to have 5 singles in this record. And he did, because Thriller had. And he wanted to do the same thing with this record. So I was like, Billy Ocean, that record with Mark Lang, who also wrote the record and produced Billy Ocean. And then when I hear the intro of that song, there was a famous movie back then, the Jewel of the Nile or something. With that song is when the going gets tough, the top get going. And the intro, if you hear reverse nerds and top, and the effects and whatever, it's very beat it, Michael Jackson, but at the same time, the intro is Def Leppard all the way, and the drum. And then I start linking things and hearing Mark Lang background vocals in the back. And then obviously I'm a big Bryan Adams fan. And then I knew Mark Lang produced a big record with him, Waking Up the Neighborhood, which you listen to that record, is AC/DC, all the songs. You listen to the record now that I tell you, you listen to the record, it's like, yeah, he's right. This is AC/DC and Def Leppard with a different singer, And I mean, that made me, like, listen things in a different way. And I remember talking to the guy from Strung Out, and I heard a lot of Def Leppard and arrangements on the guitars. And I remember one time I asked him, did any of you, like, you guys heard they like Def Leppard or whatever? They look at me like, what? And I'm like, yeah, we love Def Leppard. It's like, whoa, I'm not crazy because I hear on the guitars or whatever. And it's like, Yes, and then like you start finding similarities, and you don't feel bad saying, "Dude, well, I don't feel bad because these guys are super punk rock, metal, hardcore, whatever. They like that stuff too. I'm good." At the same time, I'm coming from a like I remember going to see Pantera and Anthrax, and and I was there and I was at home too. I was like, I love this shit, you know, Sepultura, and you know, and especially when I was with Trunks and I toured in Europe, our distribution was a hardcore metal record label, and actually, we got signed at our label in Portugal was Roadrunner. So imagine we have to open. There's a famous show of Nickelback in Portugal that they got kicked out of stage with Stones or Rocks after the first second song. I don't know. I mean, even the internet and everybody knows that story. Well, guess what? I was opening the show. We play before Nickelback. Imagine that story. I can say true story. You can Google it with Fonzie. We opened that show and right after Nickelback came back and they kicked them out because they wanted to do Slipknot. So obviously being there with all these things, you realize and you're like, I was playing in Miami back in the day when there was a big scene here. Imagine Chris Caraba from Dashboard Confessional was the rhythm guitarist of a band called The Agency. That the singer was actually Mike Marsh, the drummer of Dashboard Confessional, was the lead singer. Chris Caraba didn't even sing in the band. He did background vocal. And then seeing Chris grabbing an acoustic guitar one day and like, hey man, can I show you something? This is what I'm doing right now. And he's sitting down and picking a guitar like, it's weird. We're so naked. There's nothing there, but it sounds super interesting, and he touched me. And he touched me, and it's like, wow. And that, imagine, you look back and you're like, wait, listen, you were very lucky because you were part of all of this. There was history being made and bands being formed around you, even though I was not part of those bands, but I was part of that thing. And
Yeah.
leading my band with playing with those bands, um, Further Since Forever, and We're Here on My Smith, and Poison the Well, and New Found Glory. Hey, I mean, I used to give New Found Glory when they were a New Found Glory. They signed the first record, the first EP with Eulogy Records. So imagine we used to play small clubs in Club Q in Davie, Florida, and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
obviously, all of that, I mean, it changes you because the scene was very different back then. People were united. You see shows. It was a hardcore band, metal band, a ska band. Ska was a big thing back then.
Yeah.
Like we had Less Than Jake. It's from here, from Florida. They used to come down and play all the time, and Mighty Mighty Boston used to come all the time here, and so. But honestly, if you probably see my Spotify list, and then you'll find something like Spanish rock, a lot of Spanish rock stuff. And I always tell Andy we need to do stuff in Spanish too. And but I love 80s, man. Hard. I love Black Leopard. Uh, uh, Imagine I start liking Nickelback, man. That I used to hate and trash. The Chuck Kruger, he looked like Jesus, bro. He's pathetic. I wanna die. And and not because he cut his hair, he's still an idiot. I'm the person to admit I met him and the guy looks freaking idiot. But he's a great songwriter, and I realized the production, and I think with that album Dark Horse that Mutt Lang produced, and the album next, and they set up like the bar so high for sound producing and the way a guitar, bass, and drums should sound. Because everybody else, I remember going to studios with friends, but playing big metal bands, hardcore bands, pop punk band, and everybody's like, "Yeah, it's sounding good. Can you just play the Nickelback regular?" And I'm like, everyone's Nickelback. And guess what? It's never as good or even close. So that just opens your mind, man, and you leave aside all the "I'm Mr. Thin guy. This is what is cool, and I hold
Yeah.
key, and I know what's cool, and whatever you hear talk because this is pure and this is raw. And one of the things that I always said when I was a kid was when I was growing and in high school and going to college was like, I don't understand why punk rock in general, pop punk, it's more popular because it's the best music in the world. It's so melodic, it's so pure, and it's never gonna go away. And then people don't understand. Oh no, but I like Oasis better. And I'm like, yeah, but you know the Gallagher brothers, they grew up listening to the Clash. and to the Ramones and all the punk rock bands, and they're rebels, and they consider themselves punk rockers. And how many bands, big bands and commercial bands, and I found out that Katy Perry was a big fan of Lagwagon, and she always wanted to be a singer in a band like Lagwagon,
Hmm.
and she used to go to the shows and to all the punk rock shows and pop punk shows here in Florida. More, she used to live more by Naples or for Myers or something, to go to all the shows there and see the band. So you don't know what punk rock indirectly is been doing to other artists that you maybe you love and you like and you trash this type of music, but you don't understand that your guy, your singer, it started a music career because this genre, this type of music.
Yeah, and it's funny because like this pop punk stuff is really coming back in a huge way. Pop punk, like emo music, like that kind of stuff. It's like it there was maybe not a hiatus or anything like that, but after bands like Census Fail, Taking Back Sunday, Hawthorne Heights, like all those like bands, there wasn't and then Pierce the Veil also came a little later.
Yeah.
Like you didn't really hear of that kind of genre for a few years.
Well, let me tell you something. It's a cycle, like everything. I know first, well, the problem is that we call everything punk rock. And what is punk? Originally, people identify punk as a type of sound because they say, no, this is not punk. This is pop punk or this is cross punk or this. And I don't think it's a sound. It's your attitude and what you do. Like, for example, I graduated from college and I had an amazing job. I was working for DirecTV and I was making great money and I got married, whatever, super young. And I got offered to join the band Fonzie and leave everything and start touring the world and making zero. And we didn't have a record contract, right? And then you got a record deal, and then as things start happening, we had a video. We shot a video in LA with Darren Dunn, who shot for Blink-182 videos and everything. And all of a sudden, I'm touring and I'm on MTV and all of that. And but I let my life aside, my money. I left my house, my car. My wife luckily still with me, but she supported me or whatever. And I think that's very punk rock. That's very risky and crazy. And I know people with Maha and dye hair and pierced and tattooed, but they will never take chances like this in life. So are you more punk than me because you have a mohawk and tattoos than I don't? I don't think so. I think it's more of the attitude. And what happened? What happened is that punk rock music I think we're losing the edge. Obviously, major labels and big commercial things saw the movement of Warp Tour into an opportunity, clients and people that they could market and sell something. And they were like, look at this bunch of kids here lost in school that they don't know what's going on in their life and they feel they don't belong anywhere, but they go to Warp Tour and they feel like they're at home because it happened to me. And I wasn't even athletic or anything. I was very athletic my whole life and everything, and not an unpopular guy. But I, I was a Warp Tour, and I was like, I could be here 24 hours a day, every day. I wish I can come. I could do this every day. And obviously, the major industry, everybody, the label, the brand, Coca Cola, Honda, whatever, wanted to put money and get this and commercialize things, and things like Hot Topic came and all of that, and everything started. I'm not going to say softer, but it was more accessible to anyone. So anyone can go to Hot Topic all of a sudden and go in dressed as the prep guy from Abercrombie and Fitch or Tommy Hilfiger and go in there and come out with blue hair with a shirt that said, riot, 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 and square pants and Dr. Martens, and I'm a punk rock now in 15 minutes. And the thing that, listen, was bad for the thing or not? No, I don't think so. It made it more popular and more acceptable, and I think it's great. Why? Because it's great music, so everybody should listen. And we shouldn't hide something good and say no, this is just for us and not for everyone else. I mean, we get jealous. We understand like everything in life, want to keep it for ourselves or whatever. But it's supposed to be that. But what happened? I think we start losing the edge a lot with the lyrics, maybe with the attitude. Good Charlotte guy start dating and Nicole Richie and the other one, Paris Hilton and all of that. And I'm like, what's so punk rock about that? And obviously that hurt the scene a little bit and people felt hurt because like I identify with you, Benji, because you come from a broken home and whatever. But now you're dating Paris Hilton, and I am not. You know what I'm saying? And they call them sellouts and all of that. And I think what happened is hip hop, they were the real gangsters. They were like, okay, guess what? We're gonna start writing about the stuff that punk rock used to like back in the day. We're gonna talk about dead people. We're gonna talk about the street. We're gonna talk about gangsters. We're gonna talk about being tough, being in the street or whatever. So to me, hip hop and the rappers became the new punk rockers. It was the edge. The edge was there because come on, man, let's be real metal. People would be like, this guy with long hair and lipstick and makeup and whatever. I don't think so. I don't identify with that. Kurt Cobain came and played that thing the day he came out. Singing, all those depressing songs and saying I'm a loser and all of that. And people were like, yeah, I identify more than this than listening to watching Bret Michaels from Poison with a six pack without a shirt and cowboy boots. You know, and the same, I think, happened with pop punk. It started becoming like all of a sudden, the they just had the media, the labels, and TV had that need for more and more. What's the new product? What's the new product? Let's grab Avril, which I think is great. Now I hated Avril back then. Now I love it. I think she's great. I feel like an idiot because the songwriting brilliant. It's amazing. The production, the song, and what she did. Her career was good, but I was like, oh, look at this girl. She just went through Hot Topic and dyed her hair, and now she's the princess of punk rock. Bullshit. Screw that, that. No, you're not, And
You felt back then about Avril Lavigne the same way people feel now about MGK. Like the same
Exactly.
complaints, the same
And
complaints that
I
people have
remember
about
telling
MGK now you have back then about Avril
listen,
Lavigne.
two things about MGK, like it or not. I mean, I'm probably, like I said, I've listened to all kinds of punk rock from the Clash to whatever and to the newer stuff, the newer band that probably nobody knows and have heard before. I'm always, you know, checking things out, new things. And MGK, I'm very grateful because he saved punk rock with that record and Travis did, but it was MGK singing and he wanted to do it. And when the war was about to come to an end during the pandemic, to release that record, Ticket to My Downfall, which is the Blink 182 record with a different singer, and it sounds like Blink from Enema of the State, which is the Blink that everybody loves and accepts, and everybody agrees that is the best Blink. And he has the balls to do it. Now, the guy's a sellout. The guy is a pooch. You can call him everything. Well, let me tell you something. The guy was a rapper, and he was a good rapper, and he's a good rapper, and he comes from the hood, and he got shot. So I think that's more punk than a bunch of people that I know thinking about punk rock. Right there already, I think the guy is more punk than all of you. And taking the chances to make a pop punk record when pop punk was dead and no popular, and nobody will put a penny. Nobody will book a pop punk band in a club for 50 people, and him coming and with those songs that are like what is this super pop basic punk rock album from 2002 probably a band wherever it is 1999. That's edgy. That's risky for a guy like him. That he was a big guy. He's not big releasing that thing. Nobody cares. Hey, it didn't work. Well, I'll go back to my job. No, you're talking about a guy that he put his career on the line doing that, and to me, that's very punk rock. And he had a big mouth, and he dates all those idiot girls and whatever. Okay, that's on the side. I mean, Travis Barker, I love him to death, and he's married with a Kardashian man. Skin deal. That's the lit punk rock thing I've ever seen in my life. But are you gonna deny that the guy's a punk rocker and he makes amazing music, or whatever? No. So I think there is a revival because there is nostalgia. There is the need for good stuff, for quality, and we realize that the new stuff that it was being made to me, and I speak for myself. I speak against me, Andy, whatever, with my own eyes and real kids, whatever. We are losing identities, and we're all starting to sound the same and wanting to do the same thing. And it's amazing when I see guys like Story of the Year, and you're like, dude, I forgot how old those guys are, man. And I'm like, they go on stage, and after them, any band from 22, 3, 5-year-old guys that can come after and play, they're like insignificant. And they're like, dude, those guys are 45, 48, whatever. Just whooped you. Like, don't go on stage now. Always play before the guy. Because if you do it after, it's gonna be really, really, really bad for you, man. And I see them like Fall Out Boy, which I'm not really a big fan of Fall Out Boy, but they're amazing. I play with them, and but the Offspring, man, Dexter is on. I know him well. I would tour together. We did in Europe many dates, and I hated the Offspring at the beginning, and then I learned and started listening to them, and I really got into them. And Dexter is 60, and Noodle was 60 something, and
Yeah.
I just saw their concert, and they played for like an hour and a half, non-stop, and the energy and the punch and the drive and the attitude. The guy has a PhD in microbiology, and he's a pilot, but he's a punk rocker, in the attitude. And I don't find that today, man. Some of the bands are just like, oh man, I'm gonna go to Guitar Center and buy all of this gear and stuff, and they forget, because I think I'm not gonna say the things that are easier now than before, because there's easier things and some stuff is more difficult. But anyone can record now with quality and send to a guy on Fiverr that can do a great mix for $150 and sound professional. And then you put your stuff on Spotify and you shoot a video with an iPhone that it looks super good and film quality, and you have a video and an amazing top quality recorded song, and you never left your garage. You never play in front of 10 people, and you find that you find that in Spotify every day. There's, I don't know, just in our general, I don't know, 1,000 new songs every day. So all this is going to be very difficult to find the right thing with the quality of what you're looking for, and then you start getting sick about, because it's too much information. I think, you know. And
Yeah.
want to sound like Bill Gates saying, "Oh man, there's too much population. He's killing the population." I'm not saying that. Be careful, but I'm saying that's what I think it happened. And now that there's a revival of pop punk, I don't think it's because it's a trend. I think it's because the parent now, there's my case and my friend, they have kids, and some of their kids are in 12, 15 year old, whatever. They listen to the music that the parents,
Yeah.
and they see that those bands still playing, and they want to see those bands. And when they see it, they're like, holy shit, this is cool. They go and see Blink-182 because this is fun. How old is that guy? Well, man, Mark Hoppus is 53 years old. Just his birthday was on but you like have more energy than me, that I'm 15 and jumping on stage, and the energy, and they're making all the, the cursing on stage and all the jokes and the energy and the vibe. And so good. It's not like going and maybe, you go see Oasis, which is amazing and so cool, but you see this guy's on stage is not even talking to his brother. He doesn't even that invitation, yeah, I'm not talking to you, we go to separate um, you know, backstages and whatever. And I think that's what's going on. And that's why there is a revival. Because now, when you do a festival like when we were young, you go, I see a lot of people going, but they taking either their younger brothers or their kids. So now you don't buy one ticket, you buy three.
Mm.
So it's different than before. So that's why you see all those masses, and you see a guy, one kid that is 12, one that is 18, you see one that is 25 or 30, 50-year-old there. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Even older. Yeah,
Yeah.
some friends of mine that are 55 and they love it, and they're like, and they go, and they have money. They're CEOs of big companies or whatever. It's like, no man, I just went to this amazing suite in Vegas. I'm going to where you want to come. Now we're going big time. Just want to go, and they go crazy. Watching the band because they really like it, and I think the quality of those bands are good. I mean, they could play, they could write songs. It's amazing what they're done, but it's like the same. How come a band like Def Leppard that we were talking before, they're in their 60, almost 70 years, and they still touring in fucking arenas? Because when those guys play their instrument, they're really good at what they do, and they play from the heart, and the quality, and people recognize that immediately and they're like, wow, this is good. And I think it's the same with this kind of music. It disappeared because finally, the label lost, it was changing, and they're like, okay, it's time for new stuff. We need to whatever, but it can never die because it's so good, the quality, and it left a mark. I don't think it was a trend. I don't think it was something like, oh yeah, remember when we used bunny pants back in the days? We used Yankov and Airwalk shoes, and now I'll never do that again. No, this type of music, this genre, and in touch so many people in difficult times, even if you were heartbroken because the girlfriend of your parents got divorced, or you were like in my case. And out come the walls, I came to the face. I was super broke. I was a tennis player that couldn't play because he got injured, and I was painting houses and had to walk to work and ride a bike. But I put my phone on my Discman at a time and listening to that record. And I remember listening to those songs and it made something, those lyrics, you know, they would journey to the journey to the end of the east day, those lyrics. I mean, for example, and listen, Newfound Glory, brings me back to those days and those clubs that we play here and all this friendship and all this thing that it was created. And I mean, there was something there. He left a mark. It wasn't just a trend. It wasn't something that, "Oh, whatever, done, gone." No, no, no. You see people like I see lawyers, friends of mine that are very successful, and they get into my car, and all of a sudden, it or me from Newfound Glory start playing, or Weezer, or I don't know, the starting line, the best of me from starting line. And
Yeah.
no, 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 hold on, crank it, and this, that. What's the title of and singing out of there, and I'm like, what,
Yeah.
what happened to you? No, you don't understand, man. And I'm like,
You don't understand.
see, yeah, because, and it happened, and
Yeah.
and and it so to me, it's bigger than that. Yeah, it's back for some people, it's that big, but for most people, it was never gone. I never saw Newfound Glory struggling or saying like, "Hey, man, we're trying to go on tour, but we cannot sell show." Never, maybe now, okay, yeah, they made a name for themselves and they're on another status, but they always were doing their thing, you know.
Mm.
MXTX, for example, Mike and Reda, we got to the point that they had to stop the band because family, money issues, whatever it wasn't. And now I think they're more successful that when they were releasing records for many, many years. Like, dude, it's amazing. Every show we do it, partly sold out and whatever. We don't need to
Hmm.
sell records. Great. And so, yeah, I see there is a revival, but I was like, dude, but I'm always with your stuff. Always. Everything you put out, whatever. I mean, I never left. Most people left their line, but I was always here,
Yeah,
So
and
check this out.
and Andy, like when excuse me, when you guys first like started this new project, what made you want to stay in this genre rather than we need to I want to go in a new direction?
I don't know. I feel like this is just kind of the music that's always attracted me the most. Like, obviously I have other like genres that I like and other genres that I've played, and I like crazy bands like Fall Out Troy, and I like, playing, more complex stuff and stuff for fun. But I feel like when it comes to like writing and when it comes to playing, like performing live, like this is the kind of music, like pop punk has always been the kind of music that I feel like is the most like, I don't know, it's almost like visceral. Like it's pop and it's catchy, but it's heavy, and it's like it has the rock elements and the heavy drums and the, like, I don't know, it's kind of the best of both worlds for me. And you can like I feel like it connects with me the most.
And when you so the is your first latest single "Make Me Forget"? Is that the first single you guys worked on together?
I think that was the first song that we worked on together that wasn't something that we were taking from like an older Angry Kids song, or something like that. So I think that was the first original that we worked on together, just as a completely fresh, like when we decided, hey, we're not going to be Angry Out Kids anymore, or we're not going to, you're going to do that project in Portugal. We're going to do something completely different here. And we decided, okay, we're going to be With My Own Eyes. We're going to, move forward with this band. We worked on Make Me Forget first. Yeah.
And what was that first conversation like, or that first time that you guys are jamming where, like, okay, so now it's a new project. What's that conversation of where your direction is going to be going into?
Um, I don't think there was really much of a conversation. It was pretty short, probably. Unless Carlos remembers it differently. I think it was basically just, hey,
Yeah.
Angry Our Kids was a Portuguese project. I'm still gonna do it over there, and we have songs that we can, transfer over. It's not gonna be a direct translation, but the vibe of it we can use. But here for the States and in English, we're gonna do something different.
Yeah, because what I said is like, listen, at the time I started going to Portugal again, and I always wanted like to do something different in Portuguese because everybody told me when I moved there because I'm Portuguese, but I never lived there before being in the band and from me. That's why I moved to Portugal initially. Like I was born there, and I was raised in South America and here in the States. And to me, it was a challenge because everybody told me, no, man, you cannot think of punk in Portuguese because it doesn't sound right. It's very square and difficult. Right. And I'm like, guess what? That's exactly what I'm going to do. Just break everyone fall, how I am. And I had my band found it was in English. I was like, dude, I'm going to do it in Portuguese. It doesn't make sense if I do something else. It's going to be very similar. So when I decided to do it again, I remember I told Andy, hey, Andy, dude, why don't you, because we were trying the band and we had issues with people, but like it was difficult. Nobody wanted to play. We were in a band, playing this Avenida Zero band, Spanish rock band. We did a reality show and a big lot of TV with Budweiser and whatever, and learned the reality show, and we broke the band. There's a huge Latin rock band, Spanish rock band from Mexico called Mana. They sold millions and millions of records. You guys are mad.
I love
No?
Mana. I love Mana.
Well, they came to our show, to that show. We did a showcase, and the singer and the drummer, they are the main guys in the band, both sing. They came into our show like, "Blonde Wither, amazing, whatever." And I'm making fun of it, like laughing, like, "Yeah, bro, we just broke up." And they were joking. I'm like, "No, no, serious, no, man, we can send each other through that. We not gonna do this shit." They're like, so from then we were doing the Angry Orchid thing, and then I remember one time I told Andy, bro, I think you should do something else because people are gonna get confused because one band, I want to do it in Portugal, and blah 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 blah. And Portugal is super small, so I can do something in Portuguese there with the same sound, whatever in Portuguese. Nobody's gonna know because anyway, Portugal has 11 million people. There are states in the United States that have more people than that, and we can do something else here. And I remember, okay, what's the name of the band? And I remember writing stuff because it wasn't something like this. The band was Angry Upkeys. They had three things. Like it wasn't like just one name. So I was like, oh, I want something like long or whatever. What's the name of the name of the name? And I had it there, something. And I remember I wrote a bunch of names. And I lost the paper and I was arguing with my wife. Dude, I have the paper here. You move and you move. No, it's right there. It's right there. And then I found it. And she was there. It's there in front of your eye, in your own eye. She said something like that. In front of your eye, when your eyes, it was like, yeah, I didn't see it. We use your eye. She said something like that. But yeah, I saw it with my own eyes. I said something like that. That's it. I'm good. Actually, I was like, dude, actually, it was good with my own eyes. And then I remember one time I came to practice with Andy and the rest of the guys there. Guys, what about with my own eyes? And I remember another guy that was playing guitar with us, like, you should look at me and say, no, but that name already exists because it sounds too cool to be. And I'm like, no, I don't think so. I was looking for it, and then no, are you sure? Well, this sounds familiar, and I'm like, well, that's a good thing. And I think everybody look at me and say like, yeah, cool. And I didn't pay attention really at the moment of that. He says, okay, with my own eyes, and let's keep on jamming, guys. Like we have a conversation or anything, and eventually that's the name that stayed in the band. That's that name.
Yeah.
Oh, and that's how it should be, right? It should be like you have all of these things like that you think are gonna happen, or you have a plan of what you think that things might be, but usually the best things that come out of or the best things that come out are those random things that we don't really think of.
Yeah, I remember. Nick from Girlfriend. They play in Portugal in the authorities, and they were telling a story. They were telling me the name because everybody's like, dude, wait, girlfriend. And it's like, well, I wrote a list of names, list of like whatever name, and they were recording. Which I'm following what I didn't have a name for the project, and then he said that he go to the studio and says, dude, I have names for the band. And Travis the singer was like, okay, let me hear. And he was like, okay, this is the list. And the first one was girlfriend. And he's like, yeah, that's it. And he's like, no, man, hold on. Like, he was like, dude, I put like the worst one on top and then the cool one, the whatever. No, let me get to the cool. No, man. That's the name of the band. Girlfriend. I love it. And that it, I don't even want to see the rest of it. I was like, this was pretty much the same thing. I remember I said with my own eyes expecting for certain ideas. No, not with my eyes or with my own hand, with my own blood. And the other, no, more of it. No, I think with mayonnaise, and everybody's like, the other one say, no, that's taken. No, no, it's cool. Yeah, I like, okay, good. Okay, guys, what you want to play now? And it was like, that's it? That's all it worked? I bring a name, I say it out of the blue, whatever, and everybody's like, yeah, cool. Okay. I think the reality is nobody cares.
No, yeah, that's amazing. That's really awesome. One of the last questions I like to ask is, well, we'll start with you, Andy. Like, what has been the ultimate like purpose that music has played in your life?
Man, I don't know. I feel like music has it's so like intertwined like with my life at this point. Like I've been playing since I was maybe like 14 years old. Um, and it's kind of always been like, uh, I don't want to say like a guiding force, like a goal. Like I've always wanted to like have music be like a huge portion of my life. Like always be playing, always be striving to perform, like always be writing. Like it's kind of served as like guidance, I think, for me. And like a passion to always kind of chase, like always kind of chase the high of being on stage and the satisfaction of writing like a catchy chorus or like writing like a good hook on the guitar that I really like and I want to incorporate into a song. I feel like it's always served as like that kind of a guidance.
And Carlos, what has been the ultimate purpose of music in your life?
Well, honestly, it was my passion for many years, and then it was my job. The problem is when things turn, I think everybody started doing something for passion. The same as a professional athlete in sports. When you start playing soccer or basketball or baseball, you're not thinking, yeah, you dream of the major league or the World Cup or whatever, that you have fun first with your friends and whatever. So that's how I started. But then I was paying my bills, doing that. And I learned that I need to write songs and play shows and, about royalties, about sales and about all of that. So it became a little bit more stressful. And after that, when I left band and I stopped playing and stopped doing that for, for living that I was doing, I moved back to the States and I, 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 I joined immediately the band Avenida Zero that and we were talking about the Spanish one band. And obviously, it was a non-fine band, non-touring, just playing locally. But it was the project, and it was fun, and the guys were great, and there was good chemistry, whatever. But then didn't work, and I felt broken and empty. And I went back to what my original roots were: as a tennis player, tennis coach. So I started coaching, and I became very good at it. I'm not saying very good, but I mean very successful. I had some success, and I was making a good living, everything, and traveling, but I was feeling that emptiness and that hole, and tennis at a level that I work, you always work with good mentors, uh, mental coaches and psychologists and whatever. And I remember me working with a psychologist that worked with my players. She started helping me because I was having a lot of stress with certain coaches and certain players, and I remember she started like working with me. I realized it's like a friendly talk, but that I realizing she's kind of like working with me, like, you know. And then she told me, you know what you need to do? What you need to go and start playing music again. And I'm like, me? No, but I play, but no, 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 but I'm not playing in your room with your guitar and stuff. You need to get in the band. You need to get in the rehearsal room. You need to get in the studio. You need to record. You need to go on stage. No, blah, blah, blah. And, so to me, it was like more that I realized that this is who I am, I need to do it. I'm at a tournament, I'm in Wimbledon with my player. My player's number one in the world. And we win, and we win an amazing match. But Andy sends me a demo of a song. And then I went to the bathroom pretending that I have to pee, whatever, just to hear that. I get more excited probably about that than the actual. I hope my player is not listening to this. But and none of the people that I coach, but I get more excited about that than the other stuff that I love is my passion too. But music is at a different level, man. And it keeps me in the zone. I'm a different person when I'm playing. Like for example, right now with Angry Out Kid, we don't have a singer. The band broke, like 15 years ago, and we just play a show and we didn't have a singer. And the former manager that is helping now distribution of new stuff that we did or whatever, just asked me, why don't you sing? And I'm like, I can't sing, I'm terrible. No, man, why? And two of the members of the band, they were like, no, man, you cannot do it, you're terrible, you auto tune or whatever. So
Very
Your
supportive.
friends you got over there.
of course, no, the people are terrible. They don't understand the Portuguese. We Portuguese are like that, super negative about everything. Nothing is possible. I'm impressed that we conquered the world, but it was in the 1500s or whatever. So, um, I mean, I was taking like singing lessons because, of course, my tennis background as a coach now it worked differently in my head as a competitor. I know how to use the method and how to set goals and accomplish certain things and how to get better and accept you're never going to be at this level, but you'll be able to do whatever you can in this range and be the best version of you every day, the best you can do. So just don't compare yourself to anyone else. So I started doing it, and then like 3 weeks ago, I think it was. I was able to play a show in front of people. It was a sold out show, and I was singing, and I sang the whole set, and it was like petrified. And that adrenaline and that thing, and I've done this. I was like, dude, I played in front of 85,000 people in a walking radio, but I wasn't singing. It's different, you know. And and to me, it was a game changer because it was tough, it was challenging. I feel like now I'm competing again because when I'm on the tennis court to my players, I feel they're on the court competing, and I'm as a coach preparing a match, preparing the strategy. But my personality and Andy knows I'm super hyperactive. I just want to go in the court. I want to go on the court. I want to compete too. And here, it was the same thing. It was like the way of me, like now I'm on the court. Now I'm competing. Now I'm doing this, you know. I have to talk right now. I have to entertain the people. If people are looking like they're leaving interest, I need to grab them. I need to, you know, I need to make them. I want them to have fun. I want them to go home tomorrow and say, even if they don't like the band, no, you know what? I didn't like them, but okay, you know, they have good energy, they're not chaotic, whatever, something, you know. And to me, it brought me like I'm not gonna say back because I wasn't in a bar or place. I cannot say that, but they put more light in my life again. So it is mandatory, man, for me. You know,
Yeah.
it's like my drug, my adrenaline, my shot, my insulin. If I'm diabetic, if you don't get the right dose, you'll die.
Yeah, no, I totally understand. Like, I need music everywhere. I need music, like I need music in the shower. I need music when if I'm decided to work out or exercise that day. Like, I need it on the way to work, on the way to school, on the way back. Like I need a soundtrack. Like, if, I tell people if you're looking at me and I'm kind of just like zoned out a little bit and you're wondering what I'm thinking, I'm probably just listening to a song in my head, like just like a random track in my head. Hey, what are you thinking about? Huh? Sometimes I have to make something up so people don't think that I'm just like, are you like airheaded or something? You just have music in your head, but it's like it's just there all the time, like a melody or lyrics or a song or, you know, like sometime like back in the day whenever I would walk from my friend's house to my house, it was always like at 2 in the morning or like 1 in the morning, and I had to walk maybe about a mile and a half or something. Um, but if I didn't have my like iPod or if I didn't have my Zune at the time, those is you know what I mean, the Zune throwback. If I didn't have that, I would listen. I would remember full songs. So like I would like so that in my head on my way to my house, I had a soundtrack and something to listen to, and I wasn't alone. And I had like a soundtrack in my head that I knew that every song from start to finish, and like I did it kind of strategically. Like, I had a Hoobastank song, and then I had Jesus of Suburbia was one of those songs. So that was a good 8, 9 minutes of just like walking and listening to that. And I would sing it out loud. So I felt like there was somebody with me, you know what I mean? But like, like that's just what it's been, what it's always been for me. And I love talking to other music lovers. And, I tried music here and there from time to time in my life, but I feel that one of my things is I can relate with people pretty well, so if I feel like I have like if I show you a song that you really enjoy and you really love, or like show you a band that you really enjoy and that you really love, and you say like, oh yeah, Michael or Mikey freaking showed me that song or that band, I'm like, yeah, I did. Like, oh yeah, I did show you that band, or I did show you that song. That's awesome, like, and like to have like music has like so many different influences and so many different lives, and all lives really on this world. If you haven't heard music anywhere on this world, it's even in indigenous places and places like it's everywhere. Music is everywhere.
As humans, before we were speaking, you were communicating to each other through sound,
Mm.
Yeah.
banging
Yeah, it's
things.
instinctual.
Yeah.
So
It's something that's instinctually within us.
blowing on instruments and whatever, horns, whatever. So music and sounds and creating notes was way before speaking. So,
Yeah. Uh, the last question that I like to ask guys, I don't know if as a band you guys have kind of spoken about this or kind of given it any thought. If you haven't, maybe like your personal story, but or message, but I always like to ask what is like your message to the world? What is With My Own Eyes' message to the world?
I mean, I think everyone has a different thing. I think Andy can say one thing, maybe
Well, yeah, I mean, if it's something separate, I want to hear like well, yeah, Andy, let's start with you. What message do you want to give to the world, either personally or with your music?
Yeah, man, I mean, I don't know that I have like a specific message that I ever put out there, but I think the world is a pretty crazy place right now, and I think that the most that we can hope for, I think personally that I can hope for with music is that we give people an escape uh in a time of whatever they're going through. They can put on our songs and just enjoy them, and for that 3 minutes, 4 minutes, however long the song is, they can kind of transport them somewhere else, and they don't have to worry about whatever it is they're dealing with in the moment.
yeah. For example, for me, pretty much the same because like I told you at the beginning, like one of my favorite bands when I got into skate punk, whatever was Propaganda, which is very political band. And but I listened to that band and I said like, this is amazing, I love it. Let them do this because they're really good at it. Me, I more, even though that I'm very politically oriented and I love politics and getting arguments with people, and I can discuss politics because I, I, uh, I study history and politics and all of that. But to me, I want people to have fun, to enjoy, to come to when I'm playing, even if it's in my house and I grab the guitar, I want it to feel good to whatever you're feeling at that moment. If you feel sad and you want to feel sad and let it out, good. I have it. But if you want me to cheer you up and to feel like, well, I wish I wasn't this guy right now and listening to his music or seeing him on stage because it makes me feel good. It makes me like it gets me in a good mood. It makes me feel. It brings something positive to me. You know, it's exactly what I needed right now. That makes me happy. You know, that to see people leaving the show or whatever, or even if they come to rehearsal and they're with a smile in their face or with something good or motivated, maybe they feel like, oh, bro, you suck so bad that I just want to start playing now because if you can do it, I can do it too. I'm like, good. You see, you're gonna start playing music because of me because but whatever. What I don't want is people to be indifferent, just like I don't care, you know? And and when I do it, the most important thing is like I learn how to do it more first for myself because it's not being selfish or narcissistic or anything, but I realize that once I'm having fun and once I'm enjoying, I feel that everyone around is gonna see me and probably, it's like you can tell a joke and be funny if you don't really believe that you're funny and you're laughing or you are like in the mood.
Yeah.
Because once you start laughing, it could get contagious. It's contagious.
Yeah.
People are gonna laugh to it. And I think music is the same thing. You know, and I think that's why emo it became so big and so popular because the best emo, the real big emo bands you could see, hear, and feel, and I would say the whole image of the person, of the singer, of the guitar player, of the whole band transmitting the songs and the lyrics. You could feel it, you know? It's the whole thing. Remember when you get on stage, I don't care if you're on tune perfectly. I don't care if you can sing every single note if you're Pavarotti. Like I heard when in Bohemian Rhapsody from Queen, there's a bunch of notes that are totally auto tune behind, and you don't hear them or whatever. But it but it's the whole thing together. It's like you can sing perfect, but if you're not an artist, which is difficult to entertain, you know, and I think that's important. You know, when you go to a show, you you people want to went to a show. I don't want to hear the CD, man. For that, I have it. I listen to it at home in my house when I'm making surround system in a stereo. I, I, I wanna, I wanna be entertained. You know, I wanna see a show. Anybody, you were jumping and then you missed that note on that solo because you were jumping or running around or spinning your guitar around, or or you went for that super high note and then you went and you went to the mic was the guitar player and you went to the other side and you're singing there and you got a little bit late for that part, but it was cool. It's okay, totally good in the show. That I continue with the whole show here, singing perfectly in front of me, and it's that's what I don't want. And so that's what I expect for people to enjoy to be. And I get for me being in band and this is just the beginning for us with starting and figured it out and finding. When you ask about what we want really, like I think we need to play live more with the whole band and start finding our identity because then eventually that's how bands start getting and creating the real identity, you know. And when we start writing more songs, more new songs from scratch and arguing and say, no, I don't like this, I like that better, and not this or that. And when you play live and see the reaction of of that your music is creating in certain people or whatever, I I I think that's what the band gets, you know, more mature, and that's when really things start happening. You know, I don't think bands happen in the studio and writing and rehearsing. I think bands happen live on stage, on the road, and playing and performing. You know.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Well, thank you guys. Thank you, Andy. Thank you, Carlos. I really appreciate you guys taking your time out of your day and doing this for me and for the listeners. I really appreciate it. I'm gonna ask it, are there any other band members other than the two of you? And if so, let's introduce them right now, please. And then where can we find your music?
So right now we do have a couple of other guys that we're jamming with. We have a buddy of mine playing guitar with us. His name is Oscar. And we have another buddy playing drums. His name is Jake. Yeah, we're just kind of working everything out now, jamming, getting all the songs tight, trying to get a set list together so we can start playing shows here locally. And then for our music, you could find us on Instagram at With My Own Eyes Band. Same thing on Facebook, YouTube. We have a music video out for our song Tell Me. And we have, I think, a lyric video out for Make Me Forget as well. And then on Spotify, With My Own Eyes, you can find all our songs there. And vote for us on the Ernie Ball website to play Warp Tour. When it comes to Orlando this year, that'll be freaking awesome to be able to play that. So yeah, I think I got everything. I don't know if Carlos has anything I missed.
No, that's pretty much it, man. Just and keep it up. And I hope, like I said before, that more people, that we can keep the thing, a little bit of that spark that is alive, because I don't think never got extinguished. Like we said before, maybe now sometimes the flame, gets a little bit higher or whatever, but I don't think it's never been like extinct. Like it's always there.
Pug never died. It just went to sleep for a little bit, but now it's back
To sleep. Yeah.
And for the record, yeah, I always like Nickelback, Avril Lavigne, and Hot Topic. All right, I got all my study belts from Hot Topic, so I don't want any Hot Topic slander.
That's funny. Yeah, Nickelback was great. I love Nickelback. But thank you again, Andy and Carlos of the band With My Own Eyes. I really appreciate you doing this for me and following me along this musical journey. As we say at the end, everybody remember, be safe, be great. We share because we care. Peace.
Man.